What do Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, lifelong sports fan, and when it comes to the Falcons, a frackin' glutton for punishment. So, let's start with the good of the weekend. Number 3 Georgia, who should have been number 1, took down convincingly the number 1 Tennessee Titans. The Georgia defense is still something to behold, and they showed it on Saturday afternoon in Athens. Congratulations to the Bulldogs. As many of you have already seen my favorite rendition of Rocky Top on my shorts, I encourage you to go check that out. I love singing it. I've gotten a chance to sing it more often than not over the last few decades, or last decade, I guess, but I will say this, Tennessee, you are on the rise. You did have us beat on a couple of routes. If you just could have had a little bit more precision, you're going to be there shortly. We will be competing with you for the East for at least a couple more years here. And I think that could have definitely turned out a little different if it was in Knoxville and if you hadn't had some injuries early on. Y'all are not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. So this is from one sports fan to another. Congratulations to you guys. Y'all are going to have a great season. You're going to go on to a January 1st bowl as well in my thoughts. Georgia, it looks like will play LSU or Ole Miss for the SEC West as Alabama fell to have 2 losses in their conference against LSU in an overtime thriller on Saturday night. I do have some friends in the Mobile region who are both Alabama fans and LSU fans. The LSU fans are going nuts right now. So I do think it's going to be Georgia versus LSU in the SEC title. Now, college football's out of the way. That's not what you're here for. Let's talk about the frackin' Falcons and our struggles against the Chargers. Now, there were some great things for the Falcons. Having been there, I am a season ticket holder. I am only going to 3 games this year. My next game will be against Tampa Bay on January 8th. Which is our last home game of the season and the last game of the season. It's looking like that's going to be a very impactful game because the Falcons were in this game for the entirety of it. Justin Herbert still doesn't look great. He is missing his top 2 weapons, and Joey Bosa is out. So we were playing a banged-up LA Chargers here. But they still found fair success through the air. I would argue, if you were watching that game, that you would agree with this. Most of the problems they had through the air, the 30 for 43, I would say at least 6 of those were drop passes. They were not bad passes, they were just drop passes. And one of those, the only interception that Justin Herbert threw, was a tipped pass that should have been caught by, I think it was Palmer. It might have been Everett, but I thought it was Palmer. Should have been caught, didn't get caught, and it got tipped up to I think it was Richie Grant. So good play for us, big momentum shifter after we had literally just lost the ball. And that's kind of the story of the day, is lost opportunities here. We had an amazing rushing plan. We had 201 yards on the ground. That's still our primary role here is a rush-first team. But there were a couple things I want to talk about here on the offense. I've been saying this. Marcus Mariota was not the reason we won the Carolina game last week. In fact, we almost lost it because of him. Now, great, it was his birthday. I'm glad he stayed in the whole game, and he had a redemption story. But he's not good. He had Kyle Pitts 2 times deep, wide open, and overthrew him. My wife went to the game with me. She is like, and her question, she is not a football fan. She just goes to enjoy the food, enjoy the stadium atmosphere, and be there with me. And her question to me is, why are we letting him throw the ball? Whose idea is it to let him throw beyond 15 or 20 yards? And my honest answer is, I don't know. Marcus Mariota, you have been fine. You have the legs to get out of tight situations where our line may be failing you. But still, it's frustrating to watch you have Kyle Pitts with nobody around him, and you can't find him when you have time to throw the ball. I don't know what more to say about it. At this point, I do think it's Ritter time. We're not losing anything by seeing what we have in him. We've already fallen to second place in the division. And if we get into a situation where we have to throw the ball, and that's the only way we're going to come back, we're not going to win those games with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. I'm just telling you right now. It's something that some Falcons fans aren't going to want to hear. But I think those of us who are a little bit more realistic, we understand this. Now, things that were almost fluky. We probably should have lost the game before the fumble anyway at the end of the game by Austin Eckler. But that was just a freak play. Taquan Graham picks up the Eckler fumble, and yes, I do fully believe it was a fumble. That ball did look like it was coming out of his control before his knee or elbow were down. Taquan Graham gets the ball, and I would have to look this up because I don't know how long Taquan Graham's been playing football. I don't know if he just started like at the tail end of high school or if he's been playing since he was in Pee Wee. I do know, even though I never played because of my health conditions, I do know fundamentals of this. And one of those fundamentals is freaking ball control at every level of play, from Pee Wee all the way up to high school, college, and especially when you are an elite NFL player. You have to hold on to that ball. I don't care if you're 330 plus pounds. You have to hold on to the ball. He didn't get punched out. All he had to do was go down, and we had a shot to win the game, or at least go into overtime, or who knows what would have happened. Instead, he tries running, and I don't know what happened. I still don't understand watching the replay. He just drops it. Nobody around him, just drops it. Literally the worst person that could have picked it up. I think Richie Grant was close to the ball. He should have probably picked it up, but again, it's instinct to go pick up a ball. I'm not going to blame him there. But yeah, that was frustrating. Going back to Mariota, 12 for 23 for 129 yards. He didn't take it. He didn't have any interceptions. He had no touchdowns. Kyle Pitts had 7 targets, 2 receptions. Tyler Algier had one of the biggest plays of the game on Marcus Mariota escaping pressure and just doing a little dump-off pass for a 24-yard gain. Drake London, 3 for 23 on 7 targets. He didn't look particularly good. And then the fumble that he had, you need to go down. That's a rookie mistake. You are double covered. You have edge rusher Khalil Mack coming on your butt very rapidly. You are not going to push for another 4 yards to get into the end zone. Go down and let us extend the drive. Let us try and get in. Instead, we had a costly fumble on the a takeaway on the 4th yard. I'm not going to call it a fumble. It was a strip on the 4-yard line, which Khalil Mack ran down for 50. Thank God the exact next play was the pick, but we still didn't get great points out of that. Younghoe Koo had an uncharacteristic miss for him, and I say very uncharacteristic. It looked like a bad kick the entire way. And what I mean by that is it looked very much like what I would call, from a baseball equivalent, a knuckleball. Usually he has the leg for a 60 to 65-yard field goal on everything that he kicks. This was I think it was a 51 or 52-yarder, and it just didn't look good. It looked weird the entire time it came out. Almost looked like it wasn't going to clear the goalpost, even if it had been going the correct way. So I don't know if there was a problem with the hold. It was hard to tell on that part, being at the game. But just watching that kick, something didn't look right about it. So that was the difference in the game in the end in terms of scoring, being able to go into overtime. But, congratulations to the Chargers. Josh Harris, our former long snapper, got to, snap the game-winning field goal for the Chargers. I pretty much knew at 4 minutes left when we didn't have, when we gave the ball back, didn't move it. I pretty much knew that was over. Our secondary just is not that good, and they had the ability to manage the clock a lot better than we did in those last 4 minutes. This is a tough loss to be at. We definitely had opportunities throughout the entire game. Our secondary is a big weakness, and again, I know we're probably not, but we're now going into week 10 here. It's time to see what we have in Ritter. Mariota is not getting the ball to guys. He's not distributing as a passer enough. It is beyond time to get Ritter the ball and see what we've got with him. We're probably not going to do it on a short week going into Carolina, though I think that's probably the best environment for him to have to try and do something here. We are second in the division now. Tampa Bay found a miracle way to come back apparently in the 4th quarter. I didn't get to see that game because we were driving back from this one. It's about an 1.5 to 2 hour drive. So I didn't get to see that one, but I understand that it was a thriller in the 4th quarter as the Bucs came back from a deficit. Sucks for us because that means that we are now in second place, but we are tied for second. Again, we'll see what happens tonight. We could end up going into 3rd place if the Saints win. I don't think they're going to beat the Ravens, but you just never know. Disappointing week for the Falcons. Again, a lot to build off of. Cordarrelle Patterson came back and looked strong. Tyler Algier is looking like a beast out there. Caleb Huntley still strong with 4.9 yards per carry. we looked good on the ground, and I don't know why we got away from that. Mariota, though, cannot throw a complete pass beyond 15 to 20 yards. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't look good doing it. And I think Ritter can't be worse than him in that regard. So that's my thoughts on it. Falcons Nation, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you're a Georgia fan just watching for me to, say go Dogs and we had an amazing game, I'll say that too. Go frickin' Dogs, go. Something has to be positive about Georgia sports this weekend. But anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching. Consider hitting the like button down below. That'll really help the channel grow. Subscribe. It helps me grow as well and reach more people. But until next time, guys, go Dogs and rise up.